Blog Talk Radio.
To Ohio Exopolitics. I'm your host, Mark Snyder. We've got two guests this evening, Rhal, Zahi, and Dubhaltagh, Hearcain, but I think Dubhaltagh doesn't seem to be at Escape, so I'm going to go ahead and hang him up temporarily here. Our real guest is Rhal. Rhal, you're a university professor, a systems and civil engineer, a project manager, and a business consultant for multinational companies. And you have constructed a couple of observatories as well. Is that true?
Hello, Mark. Thank you for inviting me to your show. Yes, I am an amateur astronomer, and I've been taking courses in astronomy and astrophysics here in Bogota, in Colombia. I used to be president of an astronomer association, and I built an observatory at my home, and I was helping to construction of another observatory for a school in Bogota.
So you build these observatories to look into the stars, correct? Yeah,
as an amateur astronomer, yes. I've been watching the sky, the night sky for 30 years, looking all the normal phenomena that the amateur astronomers can watch. And also I have seen UFOs a couple of times.
And I think you sent me some information that at one point you saw 13 objects, 13 UFOs together flying and grouping together.
Yeah, that was my second observation of UFO phenomena. They were flying at night, very high in the sky. They looked like a star moving on the sky, like you see the International Space Station right now in the night sky, but they were a lot of objects. Some of them was static at the sky, looking like they looked like a star. But as soon as the other objects go or passing by, they start moving. Some of them do some very sharp turns to follow in the same direction, and all of that lasts for a couple of minutes, no more than that.
Do you think they may have been extraterrestrial craft?
Oh yes, of course. I guess to me it's not surprising me that there is some extraterrestrial life out there. They've been watching us, and they've been here for a while, but maybe they are too smart just not to be in direct contact right now. We have to wait a little bit more.
And you told me, you sent me some information about there was one UFO that 300 people saw, or something, 100 people saw.
Yeah, I didn't see that one. It was very late at night. It was a place where I was working. As an amateur astronomer, when somebody sees something very strange on the sky, some people come to you and ask, what was that? In a place that I was working in the north part of Colombia, maybe a very isolated area, there was a UFO that was watched by around 300 people. One of them was a lieutenant of the police department in that area. He was the authority. He couldn't sleep very well after that because he had a very strange experience about that. I was talked with him later on, and I noticed that he was really affected. He was really uncomfortable because he was thinking about all the time. You know, the belief system of some people is seriously injured if they watch some kind of event like that. He went with a police group of people to a north area just following that bright object. They realized that it was nothing very common. It was a very strange UFO. And they got really scared, and they came back, and they just saw it for maybe 1 hour, and it disappeared.
Was this UFO at night or during the day?
Oh, it was at night, probably very close to someplace around 4 a.m., 5 a.m.
And you saw that, and you said that they saw this craft for an hour?
Yes, between 4 and 5 a.m., around that, yeah.
And what did it look like?
It looked like, let's say, an ellipse, circular shape, something like that, with a very bright point that it was pulsating. I mean, the light was increasing, making a ring of light, and then it reduced into just one single point of light, and then was again a ring of light. It was kind of pulsating or fluctuating light following one pattern. But it was static at the sky. I guess the policeman group was the ones that were more close to it because they took a car. The reason they do that is because they thought it was a narco-traffic airplane coming into that area very late at night, and they were there just to capture the bad guys. But as soon as they realized it was something else, not from this world, they got very scared, and they came back to their original location.
Dubhaltagh, are you there?
Hello, Mark.
Yeah, I'm hearing movement in the background. You must be there.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
How are you then?
I'm doing good. How are you this evening?
I'm not too bad. I'm having some connection problems here. I haven't got great reception, so you may lose me. I might have to call you back from a landline.
You sound really clear. We've had some storms come through here though as well.
Okay, well that's great.
Anyway, Rhal was telling me a little bit about some of the UFOs that he's seen and some of the UFOs in his area, and I was just about to ask him how he got interested in the Meier case. So, Rhal, how did you find out about the Meier case?
Okay, actually I was not that very interested in the UFO cases. No matter that I watched some of them and people was asking about that, I was more interested in the astronomy first. But anyway, it's something that if you don't go there, it's coming to you. That's the way I describe it. Somehow I was reading and watching documentaries. Some of them are very bad. I mean, the ones done in the U.S., some of them I think are not very good. They are probably talk about many different scary things sometimes, but I don't think it's about that. But when I found a Billy Meier case, what it surprised me is two things. One is the whole big amount of information and evidence that is available in this case. It's incredible how many contact reports, information, evidence you can find. And the other thing that surprised me so much is how little most of the people know about this case. I mean, in some of the UFO documentaries, it's not even mentioned.
Yeah.
It probably is the biggest, most important case in the human history. around that. So that surprised me. So I became interested in that. I think, and I would like to state this very clear, I think the spiritual teachings in Billy Meier's case is the most important part of that. Ufology is just an entry door. I mean, some people start to wondering if there is life out there. What is the meaning of life? What I'm doing here in this planet? What is the future of humanity? So, very and really important part of the spiritual teaching. But somehow I don't know why, but I am helping Billy Meier's case in the ufology part because my investigations and what I have found.
Well, I'm going to give us some background information on the wedding cake ship, and then play a clip from Contact Report 139, which I think I've got it here. I hope there it is. Semyase. This is the first time that Semyase brought the wedding cake ship, or came to Billy in the wedding cake ship, and it has a new drive that will allow her to travel to Earth from the Pleiades star system with no time passing. She can travel to the future or to the past with this ship. And the new ship has more capabilities even than the Pleiades mothership. The wedding cake that she was using was considered a prototype. However, they had already shipped some 350 units. The wedding cake craft at that time, they planned to replace all their other ships with this wedding cake type craft. This particular ship was 7 meters in diameter, but they were going to build ships that were 14, 21, and 28 meters. So let me go ahead and play this clip. It's from Contact Report 139.
You've actually come with your new box. It looks quite impressive. What technical innovations does it have to exhibit? Semyas, 1. You're rather disrespectful in reference to our technology. 2. I'm proud of this aircraft. 3. With its new drive, which I will explain a little to you later, I have better possibilities than Father with his great spacer. 4. Also, with this device, it is possible for me to dive directly into the past or future, but also to penetrate into other dimensions. 5. The flight from my home world to Earth is reduced with this new aircraft to 0 time, which I will also explain to you at a later time. Billy, then this is a humdinger. Semyas, 6. Certainly, even for us. Billy, then that means quite a lot. Semyas, 7. Certainly. Billy, and is this the box that I may soon photograph? Semyas, 8. Of course, I spoke of this aircraft. Billy, and is this now standard type? Semyas, 9. This aircraft is still a prototype, at least still for a week. 10. After that, 350 units of the same kind will have already been shipped. 11. This type of aircraft will gradually replace all other existing types of devices. Thus, it'll become the standard type, as you said. 12. In addition, the diameter amounts to 7 meters in size, like the existing aircraft of this type. 13. What can also be mentioned even further is that the next 3 size classes of our present aircraft will also be replaced by this type, but they will differ in their sizes, which explains itself. 14. They will include the sizes of 14, 21, and 28 meters, which will increase directly with planetary interests. 15. We should already receive the first larger ships in less than a month. Billy, today, you really tell me some news. Can't I also capture this on film? Semyas, 16. I have only received permission from my own ship. Billy, does this mean that I can only ever capture a ship on film? Semyas, 17. If I receive no other permission, then yes. Billy, also good. At least this, and this is quite impressive. Semyas, 18. It might be possible for you that you can take good close-ups. Billy, and what about the sounds? Semyas, 19. That is also possible. Billy, fine, then the cake is, indeed, baked. Small bullet translator's note. Below are color photos that were taken of the ship in question, most of which appear in this contact conversation in Block 4 of the contact reports. In the original German publication, all of the pictures include a caption beneath them, which is the same for each and which reads, Semyas's newest beam ship floating over the parking lot of the center. The first, second, third, fourth, and sixth photos are said to have been taken at 11:23 a.m. on October 22, 1980, while the eighth and ninth photos are said to have been taken a minute later at 11:24 a.m. on the same day. While the fifth and seventh photos do not appear in Block 4 of the German contact reports, they were no doubt a part of the same series and were taken within that same short time frame.
Now, just to let everyone know, later on in the contact notes, we find out that there was actually something in the Earth's atmosphere, some kind of poisons, I assume it was air pollution, that eventually started to corrode parts of the wedding cake ship. So they ended up not using them, and I think they incorporated the newer technology into their existing ships. So that shows you how bad our air pollution must be. Anyway, Rhal and Dubhaltagh, I think we're going to try to focus on the wedding cake ship, and maybe we'll get to the Pendulum UFO as well. And yeah. Rhal, if you want to start your analysis now, I think it would be a good time. What do you think, Dubhaltagh?
Yeah, it sounds great.
Okay.
Okay, there is an analysis that I did on March 2013. I was looking at those photographs. When you look at that, and also another piece of information of Billy Meier case, your first reaction is that this is a hoax. I mean, as you see, this is just little bright balls in the top of a trash can lid, and the pendulum UFO is something hanging from a cord. But if you look behind that, I mean after that, in more detail, you find that it's not really what it looks like. I have found that it's very interesting in Billy Meier's case that everything was put in a way that the skeptics are really comfortable to saying, okay, this is just a model, this is not real, and they do not investigate any further. But if you look at in detail, you find hidden clues that tell you that it is not what it looks like. And you start to studying it, and you find that it's more than just a model or something hanging from a cord. That's what happened to me on the wedding cake UFO. And I was wondering, looking at the reflection on the spheres, it has 22 or something spheres around it, and you see there is a reflection. I was thinking, okay, maybe if we look at what was around, probably we can estimate the size of this machine, because you see clear reflections, somehow clear reflections around that. The way it works, I'm going to explain you, if you look at yourself in a mirror, your reflection in a mirror, you see the size of your face and your body in that mirror. If the mirror is farther away, you put it away from you, you look at that your face is smaller, and every time you move farther and farther away the mirror, the reflection is smaller and smaller. It's the same with a spherical mirror or reflection in a spherical sphere. The farther away is the object, the smaller is the reflection. On the Christmas time on 2012, I was watching all the Christmas tree in a beautiful Christmas time that I passed here in my city. But I was looking at the spheres, the Christmas ball and the reflections. Imagine that they were from the wedding cake UFO. I realized that I found two things, two very simple laws. is that every time you look at a sphere in the reflection and you see yourself, your eyes are in the center of the sphere. If you take a photograph, the lens of the camera is in the center of the sphere, in the image that you obtain as you watch. The other law that I found is that it doesn't matter the size of the sphere. It could be a small one or a big one. The proportions of the image are the same if the distance is the same. So let's suppose to have two spheres, one small one and another is a big one. And you look at yourself reflected in those spheres, the proportion of the size of the reflection of yourself is the same in both of them. So if you're 50% in one of them, you're 50% in the other one. That's another law that I noticed. So I started looking for information about that, and I found the Professor James Dubhaltagh's site. I contacted him and explained him that I would like to expand a little bit further his investigation. He was very interested, and he was very useful in my investigation. He helped me a lot, and sometimes he was challenging me. I was very sure about some things, and he was telling me, "Oh, you have to prove that. You have to prove it, not just one method, just to use two methods." So that's the way I did it, with some guidance from Professor Dubhaltagh. I started doing that investigation. What I have found is that the wedding cake UFO that was hovering on Billy Meier property backyard, the one on October 22 in 1980, around noon, is an object that is 3.5 meters in diameter. So it's a big one. It's like a small car flying in that. It's not that what it looks like. What is surprised me is how similar it is to the trash can lids and spheres. It looks like it's made with household items, but it is not.
Yes.
I guess it's done on purpose that way.
Could you tell me, Rhal, how you determined the size of the spacecraft or the object in the photograph?
Okay. It's very easy. The first method that I used was using reflection in spherical balls, metallic ones, steel balls, and I was looking at those reflections. I constructed a scale model of Billy property with the backyard, the carriage house, and Billy house on the background. And I did a small scale model that I can put it on my table, on my dining room. And I was taking photographs with my iPhone and looking for reflections of the scale model of the carriage house and comparing at different distances how big the carriage house wall image was in those reflections. It could take different distances, for example, 1 meter away, 2 meters away, 3 meters away. So I found that, something that is very obvious, is the first thing that you notice is that it's not a little object. For a little object, it has to be photographed 1 meter from the camera. So Billy must be, if he took a photo of a scale model, it has to be 1 meter away from him. So it's very close to him. And the reflection would show that the carriage house is almost covering the whole image. So the first reaction was, it's not a scale model, it's something bigger. So I started to photograph at different distances and checking against the real photograph. By doing that, something very simple that anyone can do, I realized that it was around between 3 meters, 3.5 meters. It's about that size.
So basically,
go ahead.
So basically, the debunkers that were out there that alleged that this was I think a garbage can lid or a bin lid or whatever way you want to say that, you've basically put that to rest. You've authenticated that the whether it's an actual spacecraft, I suppose that would be hard to determine. It looks like one certainly, but you've determined that it's a 7 meter in diameter craft or spaceship or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
you've authenticated the size of it.
Yeah. There are two sizes. One is 3.5 meters, and the other one is 7 meters. So I also found that there's at least 2 UFOs of this kind. The 3.5 meters, which is like a small car, was the one that Billy photographed on his backyard by noon in daylight. And the 7 meters is the other one that I also, with another type of investigation, I found is 7 meters wide. It was photographed at night, so we're talking about two different ones. When I started doing those investigations, I contacted the independent investigation group. I mean, there are some skeptics about that. I told them that I was doing some investigation. I was finding that it's bigger than just a model. And they were saying that they based their investigation that I don't think is very scientific one. They based the investigation that if somebody can do a model of that, they imagine that Billy did the same thing. So I was telling them, okay, if you do the model, for example, the Mirage airplane, the French airplane, and you do a model and you take pictures of this, does it mean that this airplane never existed? This is not logical. And they say, okay, you are right, it's okay, it's not approved. For the Ockham razor, so this is a principle used for physicists and all of that, that says that probably the most logical explanation is maybe the right one. So they were saying, okay, what is more logical, that this is something that Billy did and took photograph of that, or this is an extraterrestrial spaceship? So because they think it's more logical explanation is that it's a model, so they thought that was the right answer. But they didn't do any scientific investigation at all. I think I did it. I did it because I was measuring, and it's something that anybody can check by themselves. It's not difficult to do.
Yeah. But what I think is amazing, Rhal, some of the earlier experts that analyzed and investigated, the photographs and the various evidence that was produced and given out by Billy in the case. One of the experts, Wally Gentleman, who is a Hollywood special effects artist and model maker himself, he said that after he analyzed the photographs, he concluded that the cost of creating what Billy had created, or what Billy had taken photographs of, would have cost into the hundreds of thousands for him to pull off. So, right out the gate, it seems unlikely that a man with, only one arm and very little money could have pulled off something of that magnitude.
Yeah, that's true. I think the wedding cake UFO, if you give me $1 million, probably I can do something that looks very similar to that. It's the same size. But maybe we can talk about the Pendulum UFO later on because of his jumping capabilities. I don't see even the NASA or any organization can do it because it's a technology that is not from here. So not everybody with any amount of money can just do the same thing as the Pendulum UFO does.
Maybe what I'll do now, guys, I have another clip here from Contact Report 144, and I think this contact occurred on March 26, 1981, and this occurred at night. Billy, of course, he took photographs at another date as well, and I think Billy took 14 pictures here. Only 4 were usable. Semyase was quite nervous, and I guess she actually brought the craft too close to Billy's tractor, which magnetized the tractor in some way, And Billy was not able to start the tractor, and actually Quetzal had to come back later to demagnetize the tractor. They also found out that some kind of radiation from the ship would really adversely affect the film associated with these photographs. So let me see if I can find this clip, and we'll play the next one. It's really, I like to go back to the contact notes and pull this information. Okay, let's listen to this.
Billy, contact reports 134 wedding cake ship, so then, bye. At 5 a.m., I'll be waiting for you. Small bullet note from the translator. Below are some color photos that were taken on April 3rd after this contact occurred, most of which appear in this conversation of Block 4 of the German contact reports. Concerning the event connected to the first 3 photos shown below, the following caption appears in Volume 4 of the Pleiadian/Pleiadian Contact Conversations. Semyas's wedding cake, beam ship, and a photo demonstration in Sackler of der Stellen. Billy said that already at around 5 a.m., the first jogger appeared, which is why filming or taking photographs wasn't possible. Nevertheless, he set up his apparatus in a hurry and shot 14 pictures, but of these, only 4 were usable. Semyas, who became extremely nervous with agitation, almost rammed into his trailer, so that the entire tractor was magnetized, and Billy could no longer start it. Since Semyas couldn't help him, he had to wait until around 10:20 a.m., before Quetzal had time to demagnetize the tractor with various devices and apparatuses. At 10:50 a.m., the tractor was functioning again, but Billy found out during an inspection that all the video films had become unusable. Quetzal took the video films for study purposes. At 5:10 p.m., he told Billy telepathically that the radiation of the ship is so strong that it completely destroys the films during an approach of a ship within 471 meters. Also, slide and run movies would be adversely affected by too great a proximity, through the strong magnetism, which allows the earth to tremble and vibrate, like a very great heat. So as a result of this, the photos and films exhibited wavy distortions of the ship's contours, and these look asymmetrical. Even Billy's movie box, which he had lined, as a precautionary measure, with 6 mm thick lead plates, was completely ineffective according to Quetzal's information. This problem was fixed by Quetzal 2 days later. At 11:15 a.m., Billy left the far and remote Sackler, where Quetzal was also constantly kept from his work by the walkers and farmers who were going about their work. During the 30 minutes, when Quetzal was working on Billy's tractor, he had to teleport with his devices into the ship and fly away 3 times, before he could return minutes later and continue working. Photo 1, March 26, 1981, 6:18 a.m.
Okay, guys, we're about at the halfway point, so why don't you mute your microphones, and we'll take about a 3-minute break. Folks, you're listening to Ohio Exopolitics. I'm your host, Mark Snyder, and we'll be back in a little bit. of you back to Ohio Exopolitics. I'm your host, Mark Snyder. We are talking to Rhal and Dubhaltagh about the wedding cake ship this evening. We're taking a little different approach this evening. We're looking at the Billy Meier case from the perspective of the ufologist. Dubhaltagh, you're just, I don't know what you're doing back there, man, but you're just making all kinds of background noise.
I'm very sorry. It's the connection I have here is terrible.
Maybe he's really excited about it.
I am very excited, Rhal.
That's fine.
Do you have any questions, Dubhaltagh?
I wanted to understand, a little bit more about the tools that Rhal used to authenticate the photographs. Over the past 10 years, there's been great advances in technology and in the criminal justice area specifically. DNA has been used to identify with incredible accuracy. By the same token, Adobe Photoshop can reveal things that are in the shadows of photographs, and I think in Billy Meier's photographs and the analysis that you done, I think you revealed something there, Rhal, that was hidden for over 30 years. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Okay. It's not very fancy technology. It's very simple. Everybody has it on his desktops, so anybody can do it. I don't want to be seen as a very expert scientist or a professor that conducts a very difficult, complex analysis. You trust me because I'm done this because I use a very complicated tool. It's very simple. I guess you will be finding different scientists talking about this is true or saying that this is not true. So which scientist is the one that you better trust and you say, okay, that's correct. I guess the best scientist you can trust is yourself. If you do it by yourself, it makes a big difference. I'm saying that because it happens to me. I mean, when I just did it by myself and I realized that this is a big ship, is not a model, so I feel really strange saying, oh my goodness, this is true. This is not something that is somebody playing with some models, things like that. Mm-hmm. So that makes a big difference. The tool that I've been using is just Photoshop, and in the Pendulum UFO is some tool for looking at movies. It's like Adobe Premiere or Pinnacle Studio, things like that. There's a lot of tools about that. Any tool that helps you to just enhance the contrast and hiding details in photographs, or tools for looking at movies is very easy. I guess what I have found is very easy to find and it's very easy to see by everybody. Okay, somehow I put something else. I use Blender. It's a 3D modeling tool. I'm not very good with that one. I just do the basics, but I can do a 3D model of the wedding cake UFO. Something good about that is that it was the second method, the second way to look at the same thing. Professor Dierdorf always told me just use two ways to look at things. The Blender tool helped me so much because I did a model of the Billy Meier backyard, and I put the wedding cake UFO model different sizes in different places and taking photographs from that in that model. Actually, I found the method of using reflection in a real model, with reflecting a sphere, is better than the computer model. Computer model has some algorithms for rendering the image, for creating the image that you are looking through a camera, that are not really accurate. What is more accurate is the most simple method, is by doing a very simple scale model, looking at the reflection and taking photos of that. So it's not a complicated tool, and my message is not this is complicated. My message is very simple. Those are things that are hidden to our eyes for a long time, but it's very easy to see them. For example, the photograph at night is the 873 is the number that it has. It's a very nice one. I received an electronic copy, which is a scan from the negative. And I start playing with the looking at hiding details in the darkness, because I noticed before that there was some kind of halo around that, violet halo around that object. So I wanted to see it in a better photograph taken directly from the negative. And I found that there was a pole below that. There was a landscape. So immediately I noticed that it was taken from above. It was in the countryside. The pole typically is 1 meter high, because it's in good focus at the wedding cake UFO. You know that they are both at the same distance from the camera, so you can compare their size. That's the way I realized that flying object was 7 meters in size. It was bigger than the other one. So these are very simple tools that anybody can do it. And my message is, do it by yourself. Try by yourself, and you will find a big difference than just trusting a very expert or scientist or whatever.
That sounds very interesting. Sorry, Mark, go ahead.
Oh, so Rhal, did you were looking at the reflections in the circles, in the balls on the wedding cake ship, and based on the size of those reflections, you could calculate the size of the ship?
Yes, because we can calculate the distance, how far away it is. And as soon as you know how far away it is, you know that it's not a nearby object, a scale model. It's a big object farther away. There's a very simple test that you can do. If you go outside to a place in a farm or something, and you find a construction that has a wall that is around 9 meters wide as the carriage house, and you get close to the middle part of that wall, and you take pictures with your smartphone or any kind of camera, on the reflections of that wall, and if somebody is helping you and you take pictures at different distances, and then you compare the size of that construction, I mean the 9 meters wide wall, how big is in the reflections, and you compare it with the wedding cake UFO, so you know where it was located, and you would realize that it was probably 6.5 meters away from Billy when he took his photo, and it was not 1 meter from his camera, so it's not a scale model, it's a big object. You may find some of the details in my investigation.
I think I see your point, because if he was taking a photo of a model, he would have taken up his reflection would have taken up basically everything, or, I mean, a lot more space, right?
Yes, that's exactly. The carriage house will look so big in the reflection that was covering almost the full circle or the sphere.
And in those little spheres on the ship, you see the reflection of one of the houses there, correct?
Yes, it was the carriage house. It was a little construction in front of Billy's house.
So it absolutely could not have been a model.
Absolutely, I am sure about that. Somebody can tell me, okay, this wedding cake UFO is not 3 meters, it's probably 2.5, or maybe it's 4 meters. I say, okay, you might be right. But if somebody telling me that it's 1 meter or half a meter, which is the trash can lid size, it's not possible. It's impossible to do that one.
It's totally impossible, because you would not see these little reflections in each one of those balls.
Yep. That's all the investigation about. You read the report, probably some kind of complex in some area, probably has some trigonometrical function, things like that. So I'm sorry about that. Probably I will do a test with some students doing on the field, constructing a model scale 1 to 1, and playing with it, very simple tools, and we can have the same results.
You could do mathematical functions to prove it, but common sense can tell you the same thing, right?
Yeah, that I guess is the best way. You can find mathematical function and finding some formula, but some people is not going to trust me. Or they're going to say, okay, I do it, okay. But if you do it by yourself, it's completely different.
No, this is a good thing. I'm glad we had this conversation because it really is conclusive. There's no, at least in my mind, there's no way you could have a reflection in each one of those balls of that farmhouse if that was a little model.
Yeah, that's conclusive. And also on the Pendulum UFO is conclusive too. I was playing with that, and you can do it too. And if you read the report, investigation of the Pendulum UFO, you realize how difficult it could be for the Pleiadian, the extraterrestrial group of people, trying to simulating pendulum movements in a real spaceship. But that's quite interesting too. I enjoyed that one.
Could you tell us, Rhal, when you look at that pendulum footage, it looks just like that. It looks like a pendulum, somebody swinging, the ship from a string, and is that supposed to be like that? So I've heard people say that when you initially look at it, it's supposed to look just like that, but once you look at it further and you do, like a bit of analysis on it, you find that there's far more to it than that. Is that presented in that way so that it can give people an out? Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, that's exactly what is happening, and it's happening in most of the Billy Meier case evidence. You look at it the first time and you say, oh, that is not real. This is just a model hanging from a string. Some Billy's moving it with some kind of fishing rod or something like that, and it's moving in the front of the camera, and he goes away. It's one way to having an exit door. If you are really scared being in a closed place, you would like to find an exit door to get away from there. That's what is happening to people that are not ready to understand that this is real. So they did it in that way. I mean, the ETs did it in that way. The Pleiadians did it. So some people that are not really convinced of that, they can easily find a way to escape with that reality. But if you're looking at detail, for example, if you look at one detail is that the UFO moves the treetop without touching it. The UFO do a U-turn. It's very quick. And also if you look at the periods of the pendulum movement, and the length of a pendulum has a period. The period is the time that it takes from going from one side to the other side and come back to the initial point. That's the period. It depends on the Earth's gravity, and it depends also on the length of the pendulum. So if you measure the seconds, fraction of the seconds each period, you know the length of the pendulum, how long the core would be. But if you look at that pendulum movie, you notice that it's changing all the time. The line is changing in a way that is very hard to duplicate it. But I guess the most important part, most amazing part is the jumps that the UFO does. So somebody analyzing that say, oh, those jumps are cuts in the film roll, which is a very simple trick. You cut it and you join it and it looks like a jump. For example, if you're running and we are recording you running, and then we take the film and we cut a piece of that, and then we join these two parts, putting away the middle part, and it looks like you jump from one place to another. This is a very simple trick. In that case, it's not what is happening, because the UFO is not jumping instantly. It's jumping in several frames, and the way it do it is very mysterious. I'm going to explain it this way. Let's suppose that you can jump in the space. You are here, but a fraction of a second, you are 10 meters away in front of you. And you disappear here, and you appear there. But the way that you do it is that you start to vanish yourself, to disappear, so you are some kind of transparent, translucent. But at the same time, you are appearing in front of you, 10 meters away from you, and you start appearing there, so you are translucent too. So in some point of time, you are in two places at the same time.
Yeah.
And then you start to vanishing in one side and increasing in the other side, so you transfer all of you in probably 1/10 of a second. It's not instant. It takes some time, but it's a gradual process. It cannot be simulated by putting the film roll. So that is what is happening. That's what we had found in those film rolls.
And it's very so. When I watched it, you really, I had to watch it several times to see the jump. But whenever you see that slow, it's slowed way down, then I see what you're talking about. It disappears and it rematerializes all in the same frame.
So, are you guys saying that in the Pendulum UFO film, where it goes back and forth over the top of that tree, that it actually sometimes jumps from one place to another?
Yes, it jumps and it translates around 10 meters distance from its original position. The first time you look at that, it's like just any problem on the film roll. You say, oh, it's jumping, the machine is broken. But if you look at in the detail, you notice that the frames have some burned parts, burning, so white strip on the top, on the film. Actually, it's in the bottom part of the camera. It looks like the camera received an electric shock and destroyed part of the film. Just put a white frame there. It's very strange. When the jumps happen of that UFO, it looks like it's sending some kind of electromagnetic pulse that affects the camera and burns the negative film, the roll. It's not jumping; it's also affecting the camera, and you see it on the film itself. That white strip. That's really interesting.
There is another film where one of these discs is being filmed. It's a color film, and it jumps from one location to another, and it literally goes completely out of the screen, and then it comes back. And Billy talks about this, but I had never heard of the jumping in terms of the Pendulum UFO.
Yes, it's happening, and it's there, and Billy mentioned that, but he said that it's a quick jump, and it's the same process. And if you look at the Contact movie, when it happened, Billy said that he felt an electric shock, some electric pulse, as he was feeling something in his body. I guess the camera in the Pendulum UFO is receiving that shock and is affecting the film itself. So the evidence of that shock is there in the film.
You know what I think is the real shock of all of this information? The shock of the contact notes, the shock of their technology, all of this, it boggles our mind, and I think it makes us feel helpless. It makes us feel like children. And
yes, probably that's what we are.
We are children.
Yeah, we are only probably 50 years old. They are 900 years old, so they are smarter than us.
Right. That's the overwhelming part, I think, and that's why I think some people have such a hard time. Because I think when you realize how advanced these extraterrestrials are, you feel almost a sense like, oh my, I'm going to have to take care of myself. Because maybe some of the things I thought about religion is also a little different. You know what I mean? You start questioning some of your preconceived notions, and I think that makes people uncomfortable.
Yes, and that's the only way the people change, by making them feel uncomfortable.
By making them feel uncomfortable?
Yes, when you feel uncomfortable because something is not as you thought before, the big changes happening after a crisis, or when something is changing in your life, or you're receiving some kind of enlightenment or wisdom from somewhere. So there's different ways that you change, and this humanity on Earth are changing. We are making people feel uncomfortable because we are talking about this. People that have some beliefs in religions, they're shocking about these ideas that we are expressing here. Some people cannot understand why there exists extraterrestrial life. But I guess most of the people in the humanity pray for that, and we are in the process of change, and now we are ready to accept that it is extraterrestrial people living out there.
Well, that's very interesting. I think after a while, you get used to feeling uncomfortable, and then you almost like it, because every time you feel uncomfortable, you know that new knowledge is coming in, and you're going to learn something.
I think the key is just to understand that we are children, and keep that way. I mean, curious children that would like to learn new things, knowing that we know nothing about many things. So if we know that we are open to listening to ideas, not feeling ourselves the top of the creation, we are just something in the middle or somewhere. I don't know where we are. But if we feel like a children learning, and we don't know everything, so probably we can just start finding the answers to many different ideas or many questions that are out there.
Rhal, do you have a website or a book?
Yeah, you can find my site is Zahi.com. It's very simple. You can go there. You can find my investigation report. You can download it for free. All that I put information in my YouTube page. You can find other videos. For example, the Pendulum UFO jumps in slow motion. You can find the details from the Wedding Cave investigation in Spanish and in English. I never request money for that, or you have to pay anything. It's just all free.
And that's RHALZAHI.com.
Yeah, that's the one.
Rhal Zahi. Dubhaltagh, do you have a website, but it's kind of under construction?
Yeah, we can just leave that out, I suppose, for now. There wouldn't be much point in anybody going on there at the moment. But I want to thank Rhal for joining your show today. It's I think it's important to show people that there is authenticated evidence, and that people like Rhal we're out there and working hard to bring it forward.
Well, Rhal, what you said about the reflection in those spherical balls on the wedding cake, to me, is totally conclusive. If Billy would have been up close to a model, his reflection would have taken up everything. But in fact, we see those individual reflections of that house that's at some distance. So that has to prove that Billy wasn't photographing a model. And I want to thank you, because I never looked at it that way. And I think that's conclusive. Anyone that's intellectually honest can come to that same conclusion, don't you think?
Okay, you're welcome. I'm glad to hear that, and I'm glad that you are looking at that way.
Okay. Well, Rhal, did you have anything you wanted to close the show with?
Okay, just saying, everybody, that if you don't trust a UFO or things like that, probably it's not really important. What is really important is what you do with yourself and what you do with your life. Start looking inside yourself. All the answers are there. We have to make this world a better place to live. So we need to be wiser every day Yes, we are children, and we need to know that. We need to learn more. We need to treat this planet better, helping the environment, doing things that really makes a change.
Well, Rhal, thanks for coming on the show. Dubhaltagh, thanks for coming on the show as well.
Thanks, Mark.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Okay, thank you very much.